Hello, everybody. Thank you for being with us today. We are yet again in the barbershop conversation. I am thankful that I am able to come before you and today have with me a special guest. This young man is near and dear to my heart. He is somebody who I have had a lot of time with. Because I've known him and I've been around him his entire life. This is my son, my eldest child, my oldest boy, Miles Mitchell White. Miles, thank you for taking some time out of your schedule, man, to sit with your dad and have this conversation about parenting, a black man's journey into being a dad. Um, as some folks may say, as a part-time dad. I've never liked that term. A dad who's present but not in the home. A dad who has the responsibility of bringing up young men to becoming a man of God and a man who has standards. And I pray that I've done that. So thank you. Um,
My pleasure.
hey, putting a smile on my face today. I'm actually, I don't know about anybody else, man. This is a proud moment for me to be able to be on this platform in this way and in this fashion, sharing with my son. As I pray we do some healing, not only for ourselves, but hopefully for others who are listening and watching, that they get an opportunity to see uh, black men conversating, father, son, having real dialogue, being very transparent, and putting it all on the table, the good, the bad, and the ugly, so that there's an understanding that this too we can get through and the importance of why we must get through. So, Miles, are you ready to pull the covers back, as we say?
Yeah, let's get it going.
Let's get it going.
Yeah.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Anything you want to share before we get into the meat of things?
Uh, no, I'm gonna
What's
just say
this
let's just
experience?
jump into it.
Yeah, you ready to just jump in it?
Yeah, let's just jump
Okay,
into
okay. That sounds like my son.
it.
Let's just do it. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna start it off, Miles, if you don't mind, just sharing a little bit about your dad's, what I consider my parenting philosophy, my mantra when it comes to being a dad. As I stated before, some folks use that the cliche term part-time dad, or you when you're not present in the home, you're a part-time dad. I've never liked that term. I think that you're a dad 24/7, 365. And as long as you're living it that way, that can't be part-time. That's full-time plus. And I've always operated that way. Um, but one of the things that's always been near and dear for me when it came to rearing you and your brother as well. So those who don't know, Miles is my oldest son, but I also have a son, Gabriel, who will be 18 in a couple of months. But one of my biggest pieces was getting them to understand, as I got this revelation, that my sons are not my property. They're not mine to move on a chessboard like pawns, but it is my responsibility and my charge to help guide them and lead them in a way that allows them to become strong men of their own, standing on their own, being able to make critical decisions, understanding how to process stuff in a way that's beneficial to them, um, and learning how to navigate through this thing we call life. Because I know that one day God's going to call me home and I won't be there. How will they manage that? How will they understand how to move forward? That I didn't want to create a crutch for my sons. I wanted them to be able to just stand on their own and understand how to do things. And that sometimes it worked in my favor, and sometimes it didn't, because they ended up learning how to ask questions and be confrontational, even at moments and times. And that was okay, because there was learning in that for me and for them, I pray. So that's how I always wanted to move forward in parenting. So here's my first question to you, Miles. How did
Okay.
I do with that? How was that process for you? Did it?
Okay. All right. I mean, simply put it, I think you did a good job. I mean, you touched all the bases of what you were trying to do. I mean, to in a sense complicated. You allowed me and my little brother pretty much the free range to be ourselves in many ways.
Mm,
Just as simply to say, like, me and you have a lot of similarities, but are different in many different scales, just by, different things that I've chosen to venture into that you tell me all the time, like, hey, that's what you like, and if you like that, hey, that's, you like it, I love it, but doesn't mean I'm going to necessarily follow you in that same suit or same path. And
right.
it also doesn't mean I'm going to push you away from doing certain things either, because it's your life to live and your life to explore what you enjoy.
Mm,
And I think that's really what's helped both me and Gabe become the most unique people that we are and become so different from, I'd say, the average kid of our generation, allowing us to really take the time to just find out what is best for us in our own personal opinion. When most kids kind of just do things to appease and please their parents,
mm,
we didn't never had that feeling like I have to do this to appease my dad or I have to do this to make him happy. You were just happy seeing us do whatever we please to do, whatever we like to do. And I think that in itself is the biggest thing.
mm. Okay. Well, thank you for that.
No
I
problem.
guess even though I kind of known that, for me there was a moment of listening to you say that, and I was like, wow, okay. There was a lot of I guess there was a lot of pluses to allowing you guys, that structured rope to be able to say to you, hey, I'm supporting what you want. One of the things that I used to always say to you guys is, this isn't what I want to do. This is what you've chose to do. And so I'm supporting you, but you can't flip flop on me. It was always like, yo, dude, if this is what we're doing, you
Then
bought
we're
in,
gonna
and
do it.
I'm here to support the move, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna help put the plan in place. But you got to implement the plan. That was crucial in my parenting piece for both you and your brother. And in general, I just wanted to make sure that you guys understood that, because I didn't want you to ever be in a position where you felt like you could just walk away from situations because I don't feel like that today. I don't want to do that no more. And that was never for me an option. It was like, hey, if you're going to do it, then let's rock. And if you're not going to do it, then say that at the upfront so that we don't have to invest energy and time in that. We can go somewhere else with it.
I mean, in a
That
sense,
was
teaching us accountability, being a
yeah,
man of your word, which is, to simply put it, just
yeah,
knowing
yeah,
that I'm not going to say something and not do it. If you're going to say it and speak on it, have the ability to finish through with everything that you say.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's big. That's big. Man, I should just pat myself on the back. All right, I did all right on that phase. That's cool. So,
Got that.
given that piece, and I appreciate that kind of feedback, man. But I know that there had to be some moments where you looked at me and thought, like, "Yo, what the hell is my dad doing?"
Yeah. Yeah.
So, give me an example of a moment where you thought, like, "Yeah, that old man right there has lost his mind."
All right. Well, this is something that I already thought about, as we kind of talked, you kind of gave me the idea that we were doing this. It kind of came across my mind. I
Okay.
wouldn't say you lost your mind. I would never say that you did anything that made me look at you and think you were completely off the rails. Um,
Okay.
I can say overall, I mean, just to simply put it, with the first put it, that you didn't do many negative things, and really, at all,
Mm,
could I really say that there was really any negatives? Were there things that could have been done better? Sure, but to really say that there was a negative in your parenting, absolutely not. I
mm,
mean, so when I say things could have been done better, it's because parenting is more than just teaching your kids, it's also being a good role model, and they see what you do more than, what you say, what I'm saying? And it's
correct.
easy for you to tell your kids to do this and do that, but when they're watching you do certain things, that's more of an impact, in my opinion, than anything else. And I wouldn't say this is a negative thing. So, well, not much. I'll say this is a negative thing, not a bad thing. It is a negative, but not super bad. Because it allowed me to grow, because you gave me
Okay.
freedom. But I can just say, touching on the idea of dealing with like relationships and women and things of that nature, I can
Right.
say that me, and especially me and you, I don't know about you and Gigi as much, but me and you, since we spent so much time together, we've talked about so many different things, so many different situations, experiences, my
Right.
experiences, me just venting to you just venting to me, or just telling stories.
Hmm.
And as I've gotten older, it sounded like a lot of our stories started to be similar. A lot of our stories, the stories started to kind of overlap and be like, hey, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
And that's not
Yeah.
necessarily a bad thing, because it wasn't the worst stuff in the world, but there were
Mhm.
moments where it was like, I can say that maybe if, to best put it, maybe if a story didn't sound so cool when I was a
Mm,
little younger, if a story didn't
okay.
sound so intriguing or interesting, if it was more of a forewarning rather than a, hey, listen to dad tell you about this, that I probably would have gone a different path in certain things and certain aspects in life, especially when it comes to
Got you.
that avenue, and it's not like it was the worst things in the world. Once again, because everybody learns, as a parent, you can't do everything right. And I don't think you were doing something wrong. I think the thought of it was, let me be honest to my child so they see where I messed up at, or they see what I did and they
Mhm.
can learn from it,
Right.
which makes sense.
Yeah.
But as
How
any
I said
young
it, how it was delivered is the issue. I
Yeah,
got.
but as any young boy, and being growing up, having hormones and
Yeah.
emotions, it's like
Yeah.
the way that it was delivered wasn't necessarily
Wow.
like a stay away. It was more like a, hear dad tell you about
Highlight
this.
moment.
Yeah,
It came across like
here's
it
dad
was.
telling you about his life. This is what your dad has been through, gone through. And it kind of, at a younger age, kind of made me look at you and be like, hey, that's kind of cool, dad. I mean, all right. I mean, go you kind of thing. And it's
Right.
like,
Right. Right. I got you. I
yeah,
got you. I got you. It was.
that's really
It was.
all I,
Right. In my attempt to be informative, I literally I had an ESPN moment. I made it look like it was it was a highlight reel when it really was like, yo, you missed the play prior, which made it a highlight reel, like, or the play after, which made it, a real bad play. Like it was a
yeah.
$1 million move, but a $2 shot.
Yeah, exactly.
I got you.
Exactly.
I got you. Yeah, that's that. Thank you. Yeah, because that's important to know that how we relay messages and information um, is important because it can be impactful in a way that can be positive or negative. And like you said, I mean, in my desire to want to be transparent to you guys growing up, I was sharing my life experiences, thinking that I'm offering navigational skills or navigational moments. But I was highlighting some stuff that I was like, this was supposed to show you that you don't want to go that path. But I was trying to, like, I was literally reeling you in to say, dude, listen, this is what I did,
Yeah.
which made you want to figure. Well, let me find out what that was like.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I got you.
Exactly.
I got you. Yeah, yeah. That's big. That's big. To be very mindful, and I think that's for anybody, especially when you're dealing with young minds who are like sponges and looking to learn as much as possible, especially from someone who they look up to. Ooh, how you say that really is impactful. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can say that that's something that, I mean, I could just take as, like I said, it wasn't really a negative, because the positive spin out of it is when I have kids, whenever God blesses me with them, I know that that's something that I know that it was good that you were being transparent. It was amazing that you were able to talk to us and tell us these things and not really feel any fear in being honest with us, because you know that the truth is the only way to really help your kids, in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for me now, it's like I have to learn that, yes, do exactly that, but somewhat change how I approach it. Don't necessarily speak on it so freely, maybe, so to say, and maybe add a little forewarning behind it. Maybe add, a disclaimer like, hey, I'm telling you this story, but
But
this isn't something that I want you to follow after. This isn't something that I want you to emulate or try to, act like this is
right,
cool. This is what you should do.
right. Yeah. Put a comma and not a period.
Yeah.
Listen, this is what happened, comma, dot, 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 not just a period and leave it in the air. And you're like, ooh, okay, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I got you on that one. I got you on that one. That's crucial. And it's so funny when you bring up that. So part of, for me, man, part of that desire to be transparent. And when I heard you say, when God blesses you to be a parent, you wanted to be able to take those pieces of the puzzle that you got from dad, maneuver, manipulate, you know, adjust them so that they fit your need for your child, and it just reminds me of part of what got me to where I am was how I was raised by your grandfather, by my dad. And you know what I mean? And then the things that I noted from him or saw from him or got from him allowed me to say what I needed to say to you. I think I shared this story with you many years ago, and I'll share it today. Like, I remember my dad's birds and the bees conversation with me when I had already become an active individual. I was already sexually active. I was already involved in relationships. And then my dad pulls me aside one evening and says to me some crazy stuff about, hey, listen, when I was your age, I had a girlfriend over here on this side of the town. I had a girlfriend over there, and I had this woman over here that I was dealing with. And then he said to me, if you ever need condoms, come see me. And I was like, dude, what the heck? Like, okay, Pop. And I walked out the room thinking like, yeah, he a day late, dollar short, and he got too much money on, and the cost wasn't right. He just like, you all off base. And so part of that conversation from him is what kind of motivated me to make sure that I was as transparent with you and your brother as I possibly could. Because I didn't want to do those moments. I didn't want to talk to you after the fact. I didn't want to say stuff to you, that was a day late and a dollar short. And even if what I said to you didn't stick, I still wanted to be able to have the moment to say, listen, I'm here. So if you ever get to the point where there's a question, know that door is always open to you. And I think that was important for me because of how I was raised, that I wanted to make sure my sons knew that there was an opportunity to always be able to come to the table and say, hey, Pop, guess what? I need to talk about this.
I still do it. I still do it to this day. Yeah,
yes, you
I'm
do.
Gonna say, I may not do it as much as I used to, but I still do it to this day. I'll call you like.
Listen, I'm reminded of the first time when you was on campus at Montclair, you called me with a crazy question, and I was like, oh man, why'd I leave that door open?
Don't remind me. That was so bad.
Yeah, we ain't gonna bring it up. I ain't gonna talk about the situation, but I do remember the conversation, and it did make me go like, man, take a deep breath, think this through. But after the fact, to be honest with you, when we got off the phone that evening, I remember saying to myself, God, thank you that he felt comfortable enough to talk to me about a situation that was for me, it was scary. And I'm pretty sure on your end, it was like, because he was an unknown, you were like, I don't know what I'm doing here with this. So the fact that you were willing to and able to come to the table was huge for me. I was like, man, all right. So he trusts me to come and talk to me about that stuff. And he knows that he can do that was big for me, man. That was big.
Honestly, I ain't know who else to call. I didn't know who else to call. He was the only person that came across my mind to call. I said, I gotta talk to somebody. I gotta call.
So who I gotta call Dad? I can't share this with nobody else. Let me call my pop.
Yeah.
That's what's up. That's why I'm here, bro. I always have been. So let me dig deep. We had already had this. You and I, for those who are on here, this is a conversation with me and Miles, but that we basically are sharing with you guys because we talk a lot. We talk a lot. But I want to take a moment and on a more serious, intimate side of things, because I know for a fact, because of our dialogue, that there was a moment in time where my decisions impacted you greatly in a lot of ways. And I'm speaking of the time when I made the decision to separate and basically break up our family, and ultimately your mother and I divorcing. Right. And that was hard because I was there in the house with us. We were a family every day. I'm up in the morning cooking breakfast, sending y'all off to school. You come home at night, I'm there. You wake up in the morning, I'm there. And then all of a sudden that changes. That whole demographic is no longer in place. Let's talk a little bit about how that impacted you, because you were like a freshman in high school.
Well, if we're gonna be realistic, it started when I was in 6th grade.
Well,
let's say we gotta, your son.
You take it from the beginning. You're right.
If you're gonna take it from the beginning, it started when I was in 6th grade. So by the time I was in high school, honestly, it didn't catch me off guard. I've already at that point, I've already seen it from my own eyes. What, in a sense, was.
Oh,
wait. I'm sorry. I'm back. I'm sorry.
Okay, there we go.
Apologize. I made sure my phone is off. But yeah, like I said, at that age, I already had a sense, already knew what was going on. I'm already, could piece the small pieces of the puzzle together that a kid could see for his own eyes, without sense asking his own questions, but just being a spectator and a bystander. I can say that the original piece of it, starting at such a young, it did always bother me.
Okay.
Um, and it didn't bother me that the split of my parents. It bothered me because I felt like I had to split myself.
Wow.
I didn't, I didn't know who I was able to, in a sense, align myself with, and it'd be okay. I didn't
Right.
want either parent to feel slighted in any sense. But in
Yeah.
the same sense, I didn't want to put myself in any scenarios or situations where I would be unhappy or I would be, disappointed or upset or anything of that nature. So it was
Yeah.
constantly a battle between trying to choose the happiness of the three different parties, which is myself or my two parents. Who do I want to appease today? Like, who do I
Yeah.
want to,
Yeah.
put
Yeah.
a smile on their face today, kind of thing. So like that was probably the biggest difficulty at first. And then by the time we got to high school and you really left that house. I mean, we kind of talked about this. It At that point, I didn't feel probably what most kids probably feel when it comes to a divorce. You probably, unlike most other dads in this world generation, what you hear is, I still seen you almost every day.
Yeah.
I Whether it was you taking me to school, coming to get me from school. But I had basketball practice, and we traveled to North Jersey every day in basketball practice. You took me 98% of the time.
Right.
I'd say
Right.
99% of the time. You took me to my practices in North Jersey, unless
Right.
the few times my mother took me or one of my coaches may have got me. But even on that, like that was kind of like, I'll say for me, the way I looked at that was like that was our time kind of thing. Like you always made sure
Yeah.
and would always go out of your way, even if you was at work or whatever. Like I got to take my son to basketball practice. When I know a lot of kids, and even at one point when you and mom were married, we did used to just get picked up by a coach. A coach
Right.
just come get you, or one of your friends just come get you, and it was just that. But when the split happened, it was like you realize that you only get a certain amount of time with my son or my
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah.
So if this is what I got to do to get extra time, then I'm gonna do it.
Yep.
And I mean, for me, that's, as much as my mother make the joke that it was you and your dad thing, it did really turn into a you and your dad thing to me.
Yeah.
Like I didn't, when I got, by the time I was a junior, senior in high school, so to say, it wasn't even intentional anymore, but subconsciously, that's just when I thought of, basketball and things of that nature. Like you were just the first person that I had to call. You were the first person that I had to ask for advice or run to, or I don't know what I'm doing. Let me, because those, was it an hour drive every day? Those, or 3 times, 4 times a week, you driving an hour there, an hour back.
Yeah.
It was just like there was so much time we spent really just talking about everything from
Yeah.
the goods of life and the bads of life. So like I'd never felt like my dad wasn't in the home, or like you said, like a part-time parent. It went from, yeah, he's in the home and I wake up and see him every day, to just, I just wake up and so I'll wait till I see him outside. Like it wasn't even
Right. Like
kind
you
of
knew
thing.
you
Like,
were going to see me
yeah, it was no longer
before the
like
day was over.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was just, I'll see him when I see him. Like it wasn't even like I was upset or bothered or like even flustered by anything
Yeah.
anymore. It was just really like, I know I'm gonna see my dad today. At some point, I'm gonna see or hear from my dad. And when I didn't, that's when I was confused. If I ever didn't, I'm like, oh, let me call him. Let me. And I mean, that's honestly our relationship now. We
Yeah.
talk almost every day still, and it's out of, I'm calling you or you calling me. And if
Yep.
either one of us goes too long without contacting each other, either one of us call each other like,
Yo,
yo, you
just
good?
checking
Like
in.
I ain't hear you in a couple. I ain't hear from you in 2 days. You all right? You alive? So it's like,
Yeah.
it's been that relationship since then, and I don't know anything different. I'm happy to say that at least in that standpoint, the divorce never negatively impacted me, making me feel like I lost either one of my parents. Maybe I lost the sense of home, as some people would say. Like, okay, I feel like I got somewhere to go home to, but like it wasn't even like I lost a home. I just now had more than one home. I
Right.
had more than one place I can lay my head at night. I had more than one place I felt comfortable. I had more than one place that if something was really going on, I can run to and be safe. It was more than one place, and now in two separate
Wow.
towns that If I'm here and it's late, I can just go there. Or if I'm here and it's late, then I'll just go there. And it wasn't a big deal on either standpoint. So it had its
Yeah.
benefits and it had its downsides, but it was it I can say it did teach me a lot. It taught me a lot just about being a parent and then just and being married for whenever it does happen for me. Like it showed me a lot.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean,
One
I don't know
second,
if
hold
I've
on,
ever.
Dad. I can't quite hear you. Maybe
Uh
is
oh.
it me?
I don't know. You all right? Can you hear me? Uh oh. Because I can hear you clearly. Can you hear me?
I don't know. I don't know what happened. I lost my sound. I can't hear you no more, Dad.
Oh, wow.
If
Did you
I
hit
close
something?
out of it and come back, would it be okay?
You know what? Yeah, go ahead, log out, log back in. I'll just have some conversation time until you get back in. All right. So,
I still can't hear you. Just close out of it and come back. Okay.
all right. So, hopefully he gets that straightened out, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, I can't even begin to share with you how powerful that conversation was. Even though some of what he shared I've heard, some of it was the first time I've heard it in that put in that text in that conversation. Um, but that is an awesome moment to hear your son share. You're back. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
sir. I can hear you again.
Awesome. Awesome. I was really just sharing, Miles, at how powerful that was, that what you shared. That information you just dropped um moved me in a lot of ways, because even though we've talked about stuff and a lot of the information you just dropped I've heard before, some of it I haven't heard in the way that you just stated it today, but it still hits me because, you know, one of the things that was important to me in that phase of life for us, and I say for us because one of the things that I tell people all the time, divorce is not just about the husband and the wife. When there are children involved, it's everybody's impacted. And so for me it was important to make sure that as your mother and I were redefining our place with each other and how we would interact or not interact, it was important for me to make sure that my sons had as much normacy as possible. Um, and with that, I always said this to you guys, I always wanted to make sure that you guys understood what it meant to receive and be able to give into a healthy relationship, and not just accept whatever, and not just take on whatever, but be in a position where you understand that the relationship that you build is healthy because you and the other party have built that. Um, and I mean, and just to be real, and this is not, please, by no means am I doing a bash on your mom, because your mom will always and will forever be near and dear to me in a lot of ways, because she blessed me with two beautiful sons that I am so proud of from day one till the day that God takes either one of us home. But she and I struggled in putting together a healthy relationship. Um, and so because of that, I mean, I made that decision to separate, but I didn't want to ever leave you or Gabe with the feeling that you were being separated from. And so, yeah, you're right. For me, it was a huge component to make sure that I was present as much as possible. I remember jokingly saying, because both you and Gabe did travel sports at the same time at one point in time, and you were playing for Sports U out of North Jersey, and Gabe was playing for Hoop Elite out of Central Jersey. And I remember Gabe playing at a tournament in Atlantic City, and you were playing at a tournament in the Bronx. And I was like, yo, okay, I'm gonna be in the Bronx one day. And I left the Bronx and drove all the way to AC to be with Gabe at the game, his game afterwards. And I was like, I was dead tired, but it was important to me because I knew that when I walked in the gym and you or Gabe saw that I was there was a different glow in your face. And I'll never trade that, because that effort that it took me to make that drive, or the even the expense of doing that, was nothing compared to the look when I saw my son's faces when I'm sitting on the sideline giving the nod, because I'll make a lot of noise at games, but I'll just look at you and I'll nod and I'll be like, keep. So for me, it was great to hear you say and to know that you saw that sacrifice, that acknowledged that sacrifice, and know that it mattered. It mattered to me,
I
and
mean,
so
it
to know
mattered.
that you saw that is big.
Mattered to me as well, Dad. I mean, like I said, you've heard me speak about it, but you doing that, even like I said, a lot of times when you couldn't always be there, and there was a lot of
Mhm.
times where I was alone. I was in Vegas or
Yeah,
or Los Angeles or Atlanta or wherever playing
yeah, yeah,
basketball alone, and I used to say that it meant a lot, and that's why you would see that glow on my face because I didn't always get to look up after I scored or after I did something good and
yeah,
see my
yeah,
parent clapping for me or cheering like other kids did. My parents couldn't fly with me to everywhere. I was fortunate enough and good enough to play on a very high, level AAU team, so it calls for a lot of traveling and a lot
yeah.
of expenses that was good enough for I didn't have to worry about, and neither did you guys technically. But if you guys wanted to partake in whatever we were doing, it was an expense
It
on
was
you.
inexpensive enough. Yeah, yeah.
And I understood why it was hard, because we didn't always go to cheap places. We didn't always take cheap trips. So I
No, y'all
understand
didn't,
why.
do.
So I understand why it was difficult, to always be there. So the times that I would see you going out of your way, and even though sometimes it would be only for one day, it just meant the world to me because I could now look up and get the head nod, like, yeah, you doing something right. Like, keep going. Or,
Right.
I make a good move and see you have a smile on your face. Or one of my favorite moments I can say was at Rumble in the Bronx. And I don't know if maybe it was my last year playing. It was when Cameron was there too. When I caught the alley oop in the
Championship
championship
game.
game and everything. He was so excited. Like I mean, it was just dope to me. Like to have my parent be there and have a big moment like that and see the excitement in your face and have
Yeah.
like see you have a proud dad moment, like and it made me feel like I was doing something right.
And that was one of the moments I actually showed some emotion at a game. Yeah.
Yeah, that one of the few.
Yeah, I was normally the guy sitting on the sideline, like, yeah, come on, man. Yeah, you can give me more.
Yeah, do it again, and maybe I'll get up. Like that
Right,
was
right.
you, but
That moment was big. You're right. You're right. I do remember that one. That's one of the highlights. That one in the buzzer beater against TC and J up at Montclair.
yeah, yeah.
um, yeah, man. This is good stuff for me, man. I'm excited, man, that this conversation's happening. Um, because I think that for me, one of the things that I wanted to come out of this dialogue as we talked was to um, put a spotlight on those things that are big for us, that work, that were highlighted moments, but also to put a spotlight on the things that could have been done differently. Um, I know for me, and again, this is just Ned exposing and pulling the cover back on Ned. I think one of my areas that I think that I could have been so much better for you guys is in how I interacted with your mom, right? I never did anything that I thought was disrespectful towards your mom, but I typically would have taken, and most times I did because of the nature of how we ended up splitting, I would always take the path of least resistance. And a lot of times when I would choose not to, you guys caught the heat, or you guys would have to take, a brunt of some of that because she couldn't get at me. So then she would come at you. Or if she was frustrated with me because of something that I did that she didn't agree with and she couldn't come to me with it, she would then, do the that's you and your dad moment. And you guys had to deal with that. That was something that I've always struggled with, and I know that that wasn't anything that was a negative on her part or my part. I just think it was for me, and this is just Ned talking about Ned. I think it was me being selfish and not being the caring, protective dad that I should have been for you and your brother. I should have been a little more verbal at times, and I wasn't. And I think that that's the one takeaway for me that I think I could have done better, or I should have done better at.
I mean, I can agree with that. I mean, to touch on that, I mean, I've spoken to both you and mommy at the same time about this.
Mm-hmm.
I've voiced this to both of y'all, especially as I've gotten older. I've had no issues kind of saying this. I agree. I think that you both, when it comes to that sense, I'll just put it plainly. I think you guys both failed at showing us how to transition into still being
Mm-hmm.
cordial even after having negative, feelings or any type of negative impact on a person. Like, I
Yeah.
think that's honestly the biggest thing, because I can only speak on my own personal experiences. I can't speak for my little brother,
Right.
but the failure in you guys being able to communicate put me in my life in a lot of predicaments that honestly I could have been a lot better off
Yeah.
and put in a lot better places. And honestly, would probably affect where I'm at now today if you guys could have just communicated and just honestly sat down and talked to each other. You guys would
Yeah.
bash heads to the point that you couldn't even be in the same gym to watch me play basketball at one point. Like,
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
couldn't even sit on one side and you sit on one side comfortably without either one of you feeling like I got to get up and leave. It was
Yeah.
always, or the one story, if you don't mind me
Yeah.
sharing,
Yep. Share it.
which is at Montclair, which
Yeah.
kind of was my biggest, like, I won't lie, that was your son's kind of shutdown moment to everything. It was kind of like, all right, you know what, it is
Yep.
what it is now. I kind of give up. But you guys both planned to hang out with me one day while I was at school, you know, and it was like after basketball season, I had some downtime. So it was like refreshing to be able to just sit and hang out with my parents. Mommy came up, I hung out with her for a little bit, told her you were coming. And honestly, I just wanted to be around both my parents at the same time, something I wasn't able to do for years at that point.
Yeah.
And you both end up disappearing on me that day. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know, and like, I couldn't be mad at it because at that point in my life, I was old and mature enough to I understood how you guys felt, and I understood the difficulty that you guys felt in being around each other. Like, I understood it. I didn't like it, but I understood it.
Right. Right.
And but like that moment to me was like I literally was just asking y'all to go to the mall. I was like, I will stand in the middle of both of you. I said we could go into all the mutual stores so nobody feels like, I'm going to the store because of Ned or I'm going to this store because of Bernice. It could be all stores that MJ want to be in.
Yeah.
And you guys both were just like, yeah, I'm gonna go
I'll
home.
pass.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I ended up just going to hang out with my friends that night. I was just like, all right, well, both my parents left. Like, it's like you guys were racing each other to leave. Who can leave first, honestly. And like I said, I understood it. But for me, like that was my like, dang, like, for
And
the sake of your child, you guys couldn't even
we
just
couldn't even
sit in
do
the
that.
mall for an hour together, And it's like,
Yeah.
I'll just say this, and it's just your own son's personal opinion. That taught me that I would please take this wording as nicely as possible.
Put
And
it out there,
I'm,
bro.
I'm, I'm going to give the forewarning just in case my mother watches it. Please take this warning as nicely as, like, word this as nicely as possible. I am. But I took that as in, like, I would never want to marry somebody that I can get to that point with. If
Wow.
I feel like
Wow.
when we split or when our relationship is over, that I can't even be in the same room with you, I can bear a child with you, but I can't walk next to you. I can't sit down and look at you in your face and just hold a cordial, simple conversation, no matter what bad is going on, that we can get to a point between each other that I can't even just sit here and look at you and talk to you. I'd never want to put myself in that situation. That's part of the reason why I struggle so much with relationships going up. It's
Yeah.
just that I
I know.
always would think in my head, do I want to risk this? Do I want to sit here and deal with certain stuff? Is this somebody that I'm going to be okay? If they cross me, am I going to feel okay afterwards? When I feel
Right.
okay and when I'm calmed down, am I going to be able to calm down enough to sit there and look them in their face and talk to them? And that's something that kind of stuck with me and kind of pushed me to be the somewhat loner that I was for a while, because it's just like I never wanted to be in that predicament with anybody. And every time I got anything close to that, I would completely shut down
You would shut down.
because I just didn't want to deal with it. I just didn't want to be around somebody or have somebody in my life that I felt like we can't even talk or can't even
Yep.
sit down and be cool with each other and
Yeah.
say, hey, the bad is the bad, but
We're here.
this is why we're here. This is, we were
Right.
friends at one point for a reason. We were close at one point for a reason, or even we were married at one point for a reason. Like it, all the good shouldn't just disappear out
Disappear.
the window.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, I don't know if that sounded
Nope.
right or if I
It
worded that
sounded
right,
perfect.
but
It sounded
yeah,
absolutely perfect.
yeah, like
And and let me say this to you, man, and I mean this sincerely from your dad. I apologize. Right. And I know you've heard me say that before. Um, as a parent, man, it is never a parent's thought, and I don't speak for your mom normally, but I know she feels the same way on this one. It is never a parent's objective to hurt their children. Never. And when we do, it cuts deep. It cuts deep. And so, and my desire to help make my sons into men and to help you understand how to navigate life. Um, sometimes we get caught up in our own selfish ways. And, what I mean? I allowed my selfish behavior, my selfish thinking, um, even though I might have camouflaged it with, hey, I'm doing what's best. Um, it was really being selfish. And so, I again, your dad will always, I love you. And there's nothing that I wouldn't do for you. But I'm definitely very sorry that my sons had to handle that. And, that's not something that you signed up for, but you managed it well enough to be able to still be here and have this conversation as well. Um, so I'm thankful, I'm grateful, and I'm seriously apologetic for having put that on you and your brother. All right.
And I would say that, I mean, I can't 100% speak for Gigi, but like I said about everything, none of it ever pushed me in any extreme negative way. I took everything as a lesson,
Right.
as to sit back and, I mean, that's how you and my mother raised me. Honestly, to
Yeah.
bad things aren't always bad. It's sometimes
Everything's a teaching moment.
yeah, sometimes it's just as funny as to put it, God just trying to show you, hey, this is what it is. This is life itself, and you can either go with it or go against it. And
Yeah.
and I feel like that was needed for me so that I could personally grow. As bad as it, may have seemed, or as difficult as it was in the time, I think that that's a big reason as to why I am the man that I am, and even why I go about life the way that I do. Just because it just watching that and being a part of that really was able to help me see things in a different way and really just learn and just grow as I watched and grow as I'm hearing and grow as I'm just being an innocent bystander and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I accept the apology, but honestly, Dad, I wouldn't say I needed it. I say thank you, because I mean, as much as you say you feel like you've messed up or you did something that failed, in a sense, your failure taught me a big lesson, which helped me
Mm-hmm.
grow and be leaps and bounds in front of people that are at my age. People at my age
Right.
don't think how I think, don't look at life how I look at life, and especially don't look at relationships or love the way that I do. And it's like,
Right.
I'm not gonna say I'm perfect or I'm great, but I just hearing my friends and the people that I've encountered through sports and things that in college, it's like nobody really even understands what a real relationship is or what a real relationship should consist of. And
Right.
watching that helped me understand, at least for my life, what a real relationship should consist of, or what a real relationship needs to grow and to fester into something good and to continue on a positive path, rather than to just be like, hey, it is what it is. And
It is what it is. Right. 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 Yeah. That's huge. That's huge. Yeah, I'm over here. I'm over here fighting back tears, dude, because you got daddy all emotional now. I'm trying to hold it together. But I'm glad that you're having this dialogue. One of my I pray one of my takeaways from this conversation, which most folks receive, and I'm excited to see folks are commenting, as they're watching. But I'm praying, and my prayer is that this dialogue, Miles, helps some other folks heal through their process. I know for a fact I'm not the only dad in the situation where I'm outside of the home and I'm still doing my due diligence to be the best dad I possibly can be, that God created me to be. Um, I know that there are some brothers who are, not connected to their sons in the way that they probably would like to be or should be. And I'm praying that this conversation opens the door of dialogue and ultimately for you and I, as well as for them, starts breaking some of those chains that have bound us for so many years, man, and letting folks understand that it's okay to have a transparent conversation. It's okay to let the person that you love know that, listen, you hurt me. And I'm good and I learned from it, but this is what got me to this place, that your actions are what brought me to where I am. Um, and so even hearing you, like one of the things that you and I talked about many times before was that I know that part of your reason or your struggle with trusting in relationships stems from the dysfunction of the relationship that your mom and I had. And, if I can share, I was excited this past weekend when your friend came to visit and to see you in a place where you were like comfortable and happy, knowing that there were some ups and downs, but you still were like, hey, I'm still choosing that. And I thought to myself, like, man, he's getting it. He's understanding it. And I have been praying for God to just give you the heart to trust with your heart again. Because I know for a long time you had closed that door, and wouldn't let folks even, close to the doorknob. Forget get a key. They couldn't even get to the doorknob of your heart. And to know that you are at a place where you're at least venturing into that realm and, you know, allowing that to be touched again, did my heart good. Because I pray for your happiness. I pray for, for you and your brothers to be in a place where you are embracing life fully, not just existing in life. And so I want the best, as always, you notice, I want the best for you, um, which is why I do what I do to help as best as I can, whenever I can, wherever I can, because I know that in a lot of ways, even though I don't live through you, you know, I am excited watching you live, and that's important to me. So yeah, that's big. That's big. Um, I'm gonna put this on the table, man. I mean, we got some time left, and we've talked about a bit of everything a little bit here. Um, has there ever been, and is there a question you've always wanted to ask Dad that you've never got an answer to?
Let's see. I want to say yes, right?
Okay.
But I want to make sure that, like, the question makes sense, so to say. Like, okay. I guess, yeah. All right. In my opinion, or not in my opinion, in your opinion, my question is, in your opinion, what do you think would have saved your marriage with mommy?
Wow.
What
Wow.
do you think?
Could
And
have
if
saved
you
it.
think that nothing could have saved it, truthfully, which is fine, because I mean that's honest. So that's, if you think, hey, nothing would have saved it, what do you think was the true breaking point, so to say, where you couldn't?
I hear killer in the background.
Yeah.
Is
Oh
he
my
trying to get in the
goodness!
room where
Hold
you
on.
are? Oh,
Let him bark up a storm. But yeah, what would you say would have saved it, or was the true breaking point where in the marriage? Because I mean, like I said, I don't think the marriage or divorce was the worst thing in the world for me and my little brother. Like I said, it was very much
right,
a teaching thing, and it definitely gave us positives to bring out of it.
right.
But also in the same sense, I know that, as everybody says, statistically, having a two-parent home, those kids usually end up better,
Really do
blah, blah,
better.
blah, blah, blah. But,
Right, right, right,
um,
right.
yeah, like, to just kind of in the sense though, but to save that aspect of life, what do you think would
So
have been?
good question. Really good question, man. Wasn't a question I thought I was going to get from you, but good question. So I've always said this in general. I think that, um, I think your mom and I had a struggle communicating and talking through some of our stuff. We tried a couple of different methods, from writing each other notes every morning. Like if we were frustrated about something, she had a little notepad. She had created this little notepad system where she would write down everything. She'd leave it on the bed. I'd respond to it, send it back. And I was like, even that became kind of, I was like, wait a minute, where are we at when we resorted to that? And it wasn't that it was a bad thing, but it was like we struggled with our ability to share and communicate. And then out of that inability for myself, I'll speak for Ned, and my inability to really communicate what I was feeling, what I was struggling with, the things that I didn't, that weren't pleasing to me, I gave up, right? I quit. The one thing that I never would let you guys do, I did. And I always said that. I don't think that, I mean, as we've all stated, the milk has been spilt, the water's already ran under the bridge, but I don't think that I didn't fight as hard as I should have or could have. And even in the desire, and when I first left that time, my first response or my thought was that this would be a moment of like of clarity. Will be like, oh my God, we're in crisis, we need to deal with this. And then when the response wasn't what I thought it should be, I just was like, you know what, I don't want to do this no more. When I should have sat down and said something, I didn't. So yeah, could it have been saved? Absolutely, it could have been. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. If the work would have been put to the table, if both of us would have put our shoulders to the grindstone and said, "Hey, this is worth fighting for." But I think we both, and I don't want to speak for your mom in totality, but I do want to say I think that at some point both of us just said, "I'm walking away from this." When the reality of it is we probably could have dug deeper and tried to make it work. And then when it didn't, like I said, when things weren't lining up the way that at least for me, when they weren't lining up the way I thought they should, my feelings got involved, my feelings got hurt. And then when my feelings got hurt, I just was like, I'm done. So yeah. It could have been saved if we had really worked and I had really put more energy to it, which I didn't.
Yeah. I respect that. And I respect the honest answer. I got one last question, though.
What you got?
My last question is, so you've heard your son talk to you about many of things, many stories, many
Right.
venting moments. Where do you feel like I need to grow more as a young man? Or where do you feel like I need to step out of my comfort zone more so that I can be a better version of myself, in your opinion?
Wow. So as you and I know, there's always room for growth. Even at my young age, there's still room for growth, right? So, I think that when it comes to you, one of the things that I think that you're really good at, but you could be better at, is just not wavering in your belief and faith. Um, you have a strong system of understanding your spirituality. You have a strong system of knowing that, hey, I know that there's a purpose over my life, but sometimes you allow life's circumstances to rock you, to a point where you question it. And I think that, and not that that's doesn't happen to all of us, because it does, but I think that when those moments happen for you, sometimes you just tend to just be like, I'd rather just not. And those are the moments where I want to see the growth, where I desire to see the growth, and I pray for the growth, that you firmly put your feet on the ground that you belong on, and not waver. Not waver. You're a strong, powerful man. And I'm not just saying that because you're my son. I'm saying that because I've watched your walk from the incubator to today. And I've watched you fight through adversity after adversity after adversity in your young years. And I really, and I know you're that dude, but I need you to understand that you need to believe it beyond measure, because you are that strong in ways that I never was. And I mean that sincerely. There are things that I watch you do, and I've even been a part of the support system and you doing them. But I'm like, yo, he is breaking down walls that I was afraid to touch. That I was afraid to touch. And so I know how strong you are, and I know how powerful you are. I just want you to stand with conviction on that more than not. Hope that answered your question.
Yeah, you right. You 100% right. I agree with that. I do.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that is a struggle of mine. So,
Yep.
okay.
Love you, dude. Love you.
I love you too, Dad.
Amen. Listen. This has been a phenomenal, mind-blowing conversation, dude. I want to thank you for having the courage and the willingness to come to the table, to sit at the barbershop with your dad and just be transparent and pull the covers back. I pray that those of you who are watching, those of you who have been listening, have been blessed by what you've heard or what you've seen. We've had a great conversation today. I ain't gonna lie to you, my emotions are spilling over in me. I feel it in my throat. I've been fighting back tears. I've been, trying to stop from even beating my chest because I'm a proud dad. I am absolutely that and more right now because of the fact that my son Miles decided to take a moment and sit down with us. So listen, don't let this be the only opportunity we hear from you. We are doing our due diligence to keep folks in this healing challenge here at Royalty Network. Please make sure you are subscribed to what we do. Know that there is much more great content like this coming to you guys, whether it be from myself or from my sister, Monica Jackson. We are going to be continuing to flood the media stream with content that we believe is going to start helping the people we come in contact with heal. It is so important to us that we start bringing people to a place where they are able to start seeing themselves in a transparent way and living their lives in a transparent way, so that we are no longer hiding behind masks, that we're no longer pretending to be something that we're not, that we are starting to really be the real people that God created us to be. I love each and every one of you. And I'm going to say this publicly because I see that she is on and has been watching. Bernice, we thank you. And I thank you for being the mom that you have been to my sons. We haven't always got it right, but we've always been present. And we continue to work on what we do to be the best parents we can be for our sons because they matter. All right. Listen, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you guys. Miles, thank you again. Any closing comments you want to leave us with before we get off the air today?
Nah, I'm not a man of that many words, so
You,
nah,
you
I'm
listen,
good.
man. You can't even say that anymore because you've shared a lot today. You are.
Yeah, that I might have pushed my limit.
Well, listen, bro, you've dropped enough jewels today, man. So I thank you. And again, yeah, I'm a proud parent right now because you stepped up and you came to the table, and I'm just overjoyed, man, that you shared this moment with us this evening. So with that, love you all. Take care. God bless you. I will see you again soon here in the barbershop where we are transforming lives one moment at a time. Thank you. Love you. Take care.